Bum, bum, bum. All right, we're live. All right, we're all set up and ready to go. All right, good morning. So glad that you're here today. Thank you for investing in yourself and taking the time out of your week. You could be doing anything right now, and you could be still sleeping in. You could be watching Netflix. You could be doing whatever. You could be just stressing yourself out and having more problems, but you have decided to invest in yourself, and that is incredibly important. Today, we're going to be talking more about emotions and what you can do about them. The question is, what kind of job is happiness? So honestly, happiness is your job. So I mean, if it's your job, you want to know what kind of job you're doing. Are you doing a good job, a bad job? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish with happiness? What makes you happy? I mean, honestly, this is something that only you can decide what makes you happy, because the way the emotions work, they can definitely derail your happiness if you let them. So you need to be aware of what your thoughts are, what your actions are, and how all these things make you feel. The people, the places, the things in your life, these are all incredibly important to be able to manage your reactions and your responses to what's going on, to manage your own triggers, to manage just, again, your happiness. It's an inside job. So if you're not working on your happiness, nobody else is going to be able to do it for you. You have to decide that you want to be something other than miserable, upset, angry, frustrated, whatever's going on that's preventing you from moving forward and finding and living the life that you want. So I know it's really hard and things get frustrating in life. I know when I started off with epilepsy and I was asking all the doctors for help, I had a nurse practitioner trying to tell me that I was dealing with sleep apnea. And I'm like, there's way more going on. I had meningitis. I didn't know until several years later. And after it was finally over, I was able to start doing some research on my own and figure out what was going on. So oftentimes you'll find yourself incredibly frustrated with the situation, incredibly depressed and lonely because you want answers and you deserve answers. But we don't know how to find them. We don't know who to talk to. And if you don't have the right people helping you out, it gets frustrating. And that frustration can turn into all kinds of different emotions. Again, we talked about this yesterday, when you're dealing with being stuck and angry, and it can turn into different things. Bitterness, it can even turn into mania. So uh, I probably mentioned previously that I've been bipolar for a long time. I don't know when that really started. Probably ignored most of that. I was raised abused. So it was really never about me and what was going on with me. I was punished for everybody else's stress and problems. And I learned to not take it personal, to not make it about me, because it wasn't about me. Like if I made it about me, if I tried fighting back or tried whatever, the best thing for me to do is remove myself from these situations and, realize it wasn't about me and it was never gonna be about me. I was just the victim to some insane people that still just have not figured out how to manage their emotions without taking them out on the people around them. So, being bipolar, you deal with mania. Mania is basically you're so excited about stuff. So you'll see me bounce back and forth times when I'm super, super excited and got all this energy in the world. And oftentimes it gives you poor impulse control. So these are things that can happen during epilepsy too. Your brain will just like react certain ways and you could find yourself in a very manic state. And again, you're making bad decisions. You might go out partying, you might start doing something that you've been putting off for a long time, super excited and not paying attention to yourself, your health, whatever, your brain. Oftentimes you just want to push through. I find in manic states that it's really hard to control my spending. I start like, people like to buy stuff. It's like, it just feels good doing things, and they just stay really happy and get in a lot of trouble. Mania is a serious problem. It's kind of the other side of having anxiety and bitterness. You could go the other direction where you're just super happy about everything and it's so great. great, but in a very unhealthy way. And, they come along with bipolar is also the depression. So depression is basically anger, anger and frustration. It ends up being turned in at yourself. You get hopelessness and despair because you want your situation to improve, but you don't really know how, you don't know what to do about it. And there's not, if you haven't learned techniques to help you move through these processes, and you're gonna feel stuck for a while. You're gonna be in these phases, not knowing what to do, and it's hard. When I was talking with my nurse practitioner, explaining all these frustrations and stuff, they wanted to send me to mental health. So I went and talked to a psychiatrist or four. And most of the time, the ones that I ended up talking to realized that I was in pretty good control of what I was going through and managing everything very well. But oftentimes you find the ones that just really want you to be on drugs because they have no idea what to do. So they were trying to force antidepressants down my throat, even though I'm saying, hey, look, I'm not depressed. I'm just frustrated. Like, yeah, this could suck and I could totally be depressed if I wanted to, but I'm not. I'm out here looking for answers. I'm looking for help. And by trying to sedate me and prevent me from like being motivated enough to do stuff for myself, it's not going to help me find answers. Trying to put me on drugs that minimize my ability to function and cope and numb you out. I actually tried lithium in my 20s, and man, that was a pretty blank feeling. It was definitely, I couldn't last more than a month on that. My dad's actually on Seroquel or something. So, I mean, there's drugs out there to help people. But instead, I chose a path of meditation and trying to eat better and move better and just deal with what I'm going through. Even if it took me, a few months sometimes to be able to get my mood back into something that was more upbeat and less depressed. But I mean, just it is what it is. Emotions oftentimes can overwhelm us. They can override our ability to think. You can override your ability to move and do stuff. Like we talked about with the fight or flight, you can run away from your problems, you can stand up and face them, you can freeze in the face of problems, or you can just, start enabling the other people to continue their behavior in hopes that they will stop battering and abusing you for what's going on. And I was having a discussion with my brother, and I both went through very similar things, except when when I left, or when he went to Florida to live with our dad, he had very different experiences with our grandmother and aunt, like bullying and abusing him to be our father's enabler, who was basically, he's a child and he's supposed to be taking care of this man who's just basically throwing temper tantrums and whining and complaining all the time instead of doing anything for himself. And he expected this out of my brother, and then he would be yelled at if he said anything to his mom. They would just yell at him and make him feel bad for everything. So he's kind of conditioned to be a people pleaser for a while, and he's kind of gone the other direction where he just does not want to be responsible for taking care of people that don't take care of themselves. So it's understandable. I'm the same way. Like, there's been a lot of people that just do not want to do their part, but they demand of me that I do more. They expected more. Like, as a child, I was expected to behave like an adult, a well-mannered adult, and way more mannered than the adults that were often around me. So you can find this at times that you're going to be in a situation where you're at the hospital dealing with the doctors, you're dealing with your family, your friends, and you're having your epileptic seizure, you're having focal aware seizures, your brain's just going a little crazy from the overload, and you're trying to communicate about it, and people are not going to be okay with what you're doing, with the emotions that it stirs up in them. And they might lash out at you, it might run away, they might try to please you, they might just freeze and stare because they don't know what to do. Very common responses to what's going on with us. And this is why it's really important to go through what you go through, accept it's part of the process, and just find better ways to feel good after the words, to start trying to learn how to respond to situations and not wallow or feel stuck in them. I know I felt very lonely and lost and confused, not being able to find doctors that were wanting to help me feel better as much as they just they didn't know what to do, so they wanted me to go away. They wanted to make me the problem, and they might do that to you as well. Hopefully not. Hopefully you can get yourself some amazing doctors on your team, called a medical team, because you want to make sure you have a team. You want to be part of it. You are part of this team. So you want to make sure that everybody is on your team and not trying to bully you. We call these things demand relationships, are often something that we find many of us are dealing with, whether it's from other people are making demands of us, we're making demands of ourselves, or we're demanding other people to bow down to our problems, our insecurities, our issues that we've developed, because it's traumatizing. We might have some PTSD. It's just stuff that just ends up wrecking your brain for a little while. And there's a way out. There's a way to be able to deal with the overwhelmingness of emotions. This week personally has been kind of rough. Beginning of the week, man, I've been taking care of this man, protecting him from his family for a couple of years now, 3 years, and he passed away. And every time we go in there, we miss him. I had to pull the bed out last night because where he sleeps at, every time we go by and we see it, we miss seeing him there. And it's we have loss. It is a part of life that we have to be able to cope with what it is. But it's okay to grieve, the loss of the things that we have. The people in our lives that are no longer there, whether they died, whether they have moved on, whether they have to go do whatever, they're no longer in your life. This is just very normal part of life, and it's sad. And it can lead to, other situations where you don't want to do anything and you start feeling overwhelmed with grief and sorrow, wondering like why you're not good enough or what could you have done to make the situation better. And I mean, it's good to know like what you could do to make situations better in the future, but it's not good to beat yourself up about all these things that you feel like you should have done when you're really just trying to deal with what's going on with your own insane brain, when you're just trying to deal with all the problems and emotions that come along with. So, it's emotions are okay. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to get angry about something. You just don't want to take the anger out on yourself. You don't want to take the anger out on anyone else. You don't want to be attacking people out of anger. And it's really, really not the best way to get the help that you want or your point across that you're suffering. But this is very common, even with people without epilepsy. Like they will lash out at you because they're not feeling supported. You might not feel supported and want to lash out. I know I did. I did too. Especially I had people calling me crazy all the time, people I knew. I had one of my mentors was lashing out at me, gaslighting me at school. So she was telling everybody I was crazy. And so when I was asking for help, some of the other people are like, well, first we have to see how crazy you are before I can decide if I can help you. So it was pretty crappy of like these people I thought I had better rapport with. But, I mean, people believe what they want and you just totally let them. Like, this is why happiness is an inside job. You have to make sure you are worried about you and worried about how the outcome is going to be. It's why it's really important to anchor in that you want to change. Because if you don't want to change, you're not going to. And it's going to be a waste of your time and everybody else's time trying to help you find a better version of yourself if you just don't want that better version of yourself. If you want to wallow in your misery, it's always available. You can always suffer. You can always choose to be in a state of suffering and disarray, or you can choose to find ways to improve the quality of your life, of your mental state, your physical state, your emotional state. So what I did last night, my brother here is fortunately, he's been here with me, trying to help me work on a car, and it's been really awesome having him around. We took the bed apart, put it in the garage so that we didn't have to keep seeing this bed anymore. And it made it a whole lot easier for us right now to just not want to go in there and check on this man that we have been taking care of, that needed us, helping him feed him, wiping his butt, doing all these things he couldn't do for himself. So we can only be so lucky to have somebody loving around that actually wants to make sure that you're okay. And if you don't have anyone around, you really just need to make sure you are the one that's doing your best, that you're not beating yourself up, and that you're trying to find a reason why you want to be better, not why is this happening to me? You're going to drive yourself crazy trying to figure out why this happened to me, because it's not really a punishment. There's a bunch of us. It's 1 in 26 of all people in the United States are going to develop epilepsy in their lifetime, and that number might go up. In the UK, it's only 1 in 50. I'm pretty sure that's related to the GMO food labeling and stuff. You can look into that yourself. If you don't believe me, by all means, please do your own research. Please educate yourself. Please try to understand what's going on, and don't expect that everybody else has the answer, the end all be all, the magic button to end your life, end your hell, your life in epilepsy hell. It definitely sucks, especially if you're out of control, if you're emotionally unstable, if you're just feeling lost and lonely, because it gets very lonely not having people around, and it can be just as lonely having the wrong people around. I can tell you, I've been in the state where there's definitely been the wrong people around. One of the other guys, the grandfather, I've been taken care of. I've been protecting this man from his family. So one of the guys is in jail right now. He's gonna be getting out here shortly, and he's been trying to get me thrown out and in trouble and all this stuff. He wanted to steal my girlfriend, and I could very easily be pissed off at him. He's incredibly scared of me right now, and he gets out. He's like already shaking his boots because he knows he deserves an ass beating for all the crap that he's pulled, for all the things that he's done to me. But that's just not how I want to live. It's not who I want to be. I don't want to be all angry at this kid who's not that much younger than me, like maybe 5 years younger than me. And he just has a mother that's an enabler. He's much like my dad, and his mom's much like his mom. So I see a lot of these patterns. I see a lot of these people going through the same stuff where they're literally emotionally out of control. They're emotionally insane, and they don't even want to do anything about it except lash out and hurt the people around them so that they can feel better about themselves. So it's very common to see these emotionally unstable people in your life trying to destroy you. I have another friend, she had to get away from her sister and her parents because the family has been really incredibly abusive towards her. And when she was able to get away from her family and start trying to work on her stress, her life got a whole lot better. So these are very, very common stories that people run into. And it's even worse with those of us living with epilepsy, because you're literally struggling to control your mind and your body and your emotions. And it can be overwhelming. It can be incredibly hard feeling, trying to still be happy through all the BS. But this is why we feel our emotions. If you're sad, be sad, but don't live there. Don't stay there. I highly recommend, when I'm sad or when I'm feeling emotional, because this is a lot of the temporal lobe stuff, deals with a lot of the emotions. And so since I have temporal lobe, focal aware seizure stuff, I tend to be a little more on the emotional side, but like I cry. You should cry. Crying is good for you. You should. I personally love sing crying because this gives you a combination of stimulating the vagus nerve, and you'll stimulate the vagus nerve, and you find there's some stuff called healing sounds. And these sounds are directed, they're used through Qigong, through traditional medicines. You can find them from India, you can find them from China, you can find them in a variety of different cultures where these sounds are recognized as being able to help stimulate your emotions in a good way so that you can be happier, healthier, you can process these things. So honestly, it's really good to be able to, if you just sing, it does very similar stuff. Like, it sounds horrible trying to sing cry, man, it definitely does not. It's a great release. It's a great way to get out, verbally, like the stress, everything that you're going on, and then allow your body to experience the release of these emotions. The other thing we do with Chinese medicine, I was doing acupuncture. Is one of the main things I studied was psycho-emotional disorders. So one of these things that if it's available to you, it's not available everywhere, but acupuncture was actually used by the United States military. So in 2008, I believe, while I was still in school, they were running research out of Fort Bliss, Texas, and they were basically finding these soldiers that were having not just PTSD, but multiple mental emotional disorders going on at the same time because of the traumas of being at war and watching people die, their friends killing people, different things like people kind of break. But they were literally giving people acupuncture for a month. And then between 1 to 3 months, they were declaring these people battle ready. Normally, they would be kicking them out of the military under Section 8, but they were actually declaring these people battle ready and sending them back to the front line, putting them back in their unit, putting them back to doing what they were doing, which caused them to get in that emotional, uncontrolled state in the first place. So that's why I'm honestly super crazy about the way acupuncture can help people when it's available in your location. So there's, like all healthcare providers, all healthcare systems, you're going to find good people, you're going to find bad people, just like you do anywhere else. I mean, you go to restaurants, you got some good restaurants, you got some bad restaurants. Some days the restaurant's good, some days the restaurant's bad. It really just depends on the staff, the people, what's going on. Sometimes they change the way that they do things. Like if they change vendors and the food just starts tasting different. Sometimes you change a cook and the cook makes the food that much better because they know how to properly season stuff and they cook things at the right temperatures and all these things. So it's really important to make sure you're finding people that are good at their job, that don't just have a job and expect everybody to bow down to their ways, their own insanities, without recognizing who you are and what you're going through. And it's the other part about a support group, community. If you start finding other people that are going through what you're going through, you're able to communicate about it more. I really felt bullied off of Facebook when I first got sick in 2015. I was just begging for help. I wanted help, but I was still kind of lashing out at people for trying to, I don't know, just felt like I was going insane. And then, it didn't help that I had communication epilepsy. So communicating made it that much harder. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who to trust. And I ended up being trapped and alone and lonely. And, I had a girlfriend that didn't know what to do about stuff. And it was hard dealing with somebody who I thought, could be there, but just was not prepared mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever the case may have been, to be the support that I wanted. So this is something that you're just going to find that some people you're going to feel like are going to let you down. But honestly, you just got to realize they're doing the best that they can, because none of us come with instruction books. None of us come with, hey, this is the best way to do something for other people, because we're all different. We all need something different out of our life. We need different responses. There's a great book. If you haven't read it, I think I read it back in 2000, or it's Men Are from Mars, Women Are for Venus. And it discusses relationship standpoints. It discusses how communication breaks down between men and women. For the most part, like, women get upset talking to a man because a man is trying to solve their problem and they just want to be heard. And then a man's getting upset talking to a woman because they're just, we're like, hey, I want to solve this problem. And then they're just trying to be supportive and listening, but they're not really trying to help solve it. It's just, it's a real thing. It's, men are dogs, women are cats kind of concept. Like, it's a different language, the way that we work and process things. Women tend to be a little more on the emotional side. Men tend to be more on the mental side. If you're coming from an unhealthy relationship standpoint, growing up, it's men having emotions is frowned upon. You're just supposed to suck it up and drive on, be a man. That's not being a man. That's being a coward. You gotta face who you are. You gotta face what you're going on through. These are just horrible ideas. You don't just suck it up and drive on. You have to understand why it is you feel this way. And why it is you feel that way. You want to decide, do I want to continue feeling this way? Because if you do, there's nothing you can do to change that. If you want to wallow in whatever emotion you're in, whatever misery you might be going through, there's nothing anybody else can do for you. If you want to be sedated out on drugs, if you want to, that's an option. I mean, it happens. People do it all the time. Both I have other family members that are bipolar, and their medications help them a lot. They're very happy with it. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I mean, if you controlled with epilepsy by drugs, by all means, be controlled, be in a state where you can be the best version of yourself and continue to better understand who you are and how to have the best life you can. Because living with epilepsy is hard enough without beating yourself up. It's hard enough without trying to be the hero in your story. You need to be the one saying, I want to be happy. And then you can figure out how. Because honestly, it's not that hard. You got to do just some pattern interrupts, but you have to anchor in the why. Because if you don't want to feel better, if you don't want better results won't. So hopefully you want better results. Let's gonna, yes, I want a better life. Yes. All right. Yes, a better life. Yes, I want to feel better. Yes, I want to be in control of myself. Yes, life can get better. I want to be the hero. I want to love myself. I want to love other people. Because honestly, you have to love yourself. You have to find a way to love yourself. You don't have to love your situation. It's okay to be in a situation that sucks. Epilepsy sucks. We all agree. Yes, epilepsy sucks. We all agree. It's not really something in debate. I mean, anybody living with epilepsy or watching other people live with epilepsy knows that it sucks. But unless you're living with epilepsy, you don't understand how bad it sucks, how bad it can get, just what it's like being crazy, insane, emotional, out of control. Where I was starting off with panic attacks, really before my epilepsy got hard, before my seizures. I didn't know what was going on. I was going to meditation. I was meditating every week, but I still ended up, I was at one of my acupuncturists, and they were complaining about somebody to somebody else from their chamber. And I was just tired of hearing all these complaints and these bitternesses and all these things that people were saying about each other. I'd just been dealing with it for too long, and I just had a panic attack. It was the first panic attack I ever had. I mean, I'd gotten pretty intense. I think I had a buildup a few times where I was getting close, and I would have called it more an anxiety attack. But that was the first time I literally panicked. I pulled all the needles out of me. I like ran out. I couldn't breathe. The acupuncturist comes out trying to talk to me, and I'm like just trying to like get stuff out. I don't know, like we never really talked again after that, which was too bad. But he had previously told me if I pulled needles out again, he wouldn't treat me anymore. So again, I was having a panic attack because it just, the environment wasn't feeling safe. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like this was the environment that was going to help me heal. And I just needed somewhere I could just rest my brain and stop listening to all the trauma and the problems of people just complaining and being bad to other people, because it's heartbreaking. Just how easy it is for people to belittle other people, to criticize them, to put them down for whatever it is that they're going through, because we all need to be more compassionate towards ourselves and the people around us. And this is kind of how you help working on your happiness. If you're able to start processing these problems, if you're able to say, hey, look, I realize that this is going on. I need to change the patterns that I have learned. This is what it is. You need to change the patterns that you've learned in your life, the conditioning that has happened. You need pattern interrupts. So it's really good. I said, you throw in some music, something that's going to be a little different from your depression, anger, something happy to try to get you moving, get you going, get you singing. I mean, you can put on some stuff that's depressing for a little bit and sing your depressing stuff, but make sure you switch it over. You need a pattern interrupt. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck. You need to be doing something, and moving around is one of the best things that you can do in order to help work through mental states that are overwhelming, these emotional states that become overwhelming. You change your body patterns, you change your movements, you start changing the way this works, and you're going to change everything about the way you think and feel. But you also have to recognize that there are dark times. It's all light. It's not all light. It's not all dark. The sun comes up during the day, and then at night it goes away and it's dark. Sometimes the moon is out during the day, sometimes it's out during the night. So the moon is kind of an interesting thing. and that it's, a little bit more on the whole yin and yang concept. It's not limited to just one, but it also changes its phases, where every 28 days it goes from being a full moon to a full moon again. So it goes to full moon to new moon, back to a full moon. So it's the whole process of shrinking its light, growing back to its light, shrinking, growing back, more back. So you can see all the times throughout nature that there are these cycles where things are more active and less active, more active, less active. During summer, it's really hot in most places. And during winter, it's really cold. So the sun is still there, but what's going on is just the shift and tilt of the way that the planet is rotating as it's spinning on its axis, as it's flying through space around the sun. So these are natural patterns that happen all the time. It's got inside, being, if you're in a relationship and you've ever really loved somebody, or you feel like you're in love with somebody, and it's like, oh, you're in this great high place, and then all of a sudden they do something stupid and you're really mad at them, and you're like, why, I can't stand why you did this to me again. And like, I've been telling you, it's really easy. This is like the top, how we talk about everything goes from one extreme to the next. It's really easy to flip the switch. You can just as easily go from being really angry to really happy. I guess I'd be really angry to really happy, because anger is more of a lower emotion. Happiness is definitely a higher realm emotion. So happiness is an inside job. So it starts with loving yourself. And if you don't know how, if you feel like you're in hell, because hell is a spiritual realm, it's an emotional state, it's a frequency that you can resonate at any time. You can be in hell on earth. It's, somewhere you can be. But hell is where it's an absence of love. It's complete, absolute absence of love. You don't love yourself. You don't love other people. You don't feel loved by other people. Even if they're trying, you think it's insincere. There's always a problem, and it turns usually into anger and resentment and attacking. You're just attacking yourself, start attacking other people. You find some people start actually cutting themselves just so they can feel something, because sometimes they're numb. These things are not healthy ways to deal with your life. Honestly, you need to be able to get some help, talk to the right people, work with the right people, find some people that say, look, I know it's hard for you, but there's a way out. Let me show you, I've been there. And that's what this mentoring is all about. This is why we are doing classes. This is why you're here, investing time in yourself, is because you want help to find a better life for yourself. And whether you get 1, 2, 3 things out of this whole week that we're going on, if any of these can help you find a better version of yourself, isn't it worth the time that you've invested just to have a couple moments of sanity, make your life just a little bit better? Even if it's 1% a day, for the next 30 days, you're going to have a 30% change. You can totally change the whole process and the route that you're going. It's like we were saying yesterday, if you're on a boat or on a plane, you pick your target where you go, but you got to constantly be adjusting to what the course is. If a storm comes along and you're walking up the mountains and your path disappears, like, it gets really hard to walk through a blizzard. So usually you got to store up, wait for the blizzard to pass, and then you can go back to your trail. It's the same thing if you're having epilepsy. If you're having a seizure, it's going to derail you from the path that you think that you're on. It's like the rabbit and the turtle. I talk about this previously, probably not here, but the rabbit and the turtle, I say, is actually, it's a funny joke. It's like, basically they both have epilepsy, and say the turtle is the one that wins, because the turtle's like, all right, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on in my life. All right, I'm a little stressed. All right, let's slow it down. But, for the most part, they keep going. They keep going. They're watching what it is. They're like looking for their target. They know where they're going. They're not distracted by all the pretty lights. And the rabbit's like bouncing from one place to the next. It's like, all right, jump, go over here. All right, jump, go over here, and keep wearing themselves out, because they're just running around frantic, running around doing this stuff. They think that they, have all the time, all the energy, and then they ended up shorting themselves out. I know I've done this. I know you've done this too in the whole process, where we think that we can do so much more than we actually are able to. And especially if you used to be able to do more. It's really, really hard I mean, I used to be able to carry an acupuncture table up and down stairs, walk a couple miles up the road because the parking was horrible in LA. Sometimes it took a while to get to somebody's house. And, I walked and drug my table with me to make sure people didn't have to drive. They didn't have to come to the office. This is not something I can do anymore. It's really hard for me. I was like, try touching people and working on people. The energy exchange can be really difficult. I actually had a guy that had come over here. Uh, Somebody else had introduced me to him to try to help do a project together. And this guy was a drug addict. Yeah, he was also another one of these out of control people that took his crap out on the people around him. But he ended up stubbing his toe. It was like nothing big deal to me, but he stubbed his toe and he's screaming bloody murder. And I ended up like doing some work on his calf with my hands, just kind of release all the tension and stress that's going to come from that. And, in 5 minutes, he was feeling better, but I'm like literally running out the door, ripping my shirt off, like trying to not puke because I just feel like I took on a bunch of poison from this guy, and it happens a lot. You might find this when you're dealing with other people in your life that aren't healthy people, that you can find that you just don't feel good around them. They don't make you happiness. They're a thief of your joy. When Glenn passed, his daughter was over here, and she's one of the people we were protecting her father from was her. And so she's all talking and wearing us out. And it's like, seriously, it's frustrating. I actually yelled at her and I constantly telling her, stop lying to me. And I yell at her sometimes. I don't want to, I don't mean to, but like I don't have the ability to protect myself from people's insanities any more than you. So we work on ourselves the best we can and we protect ourselves and we do our best to avoid these people as much as we can. So, I mean, if you're stuck in a situation where you can't get rid of these people, you really just have to learn how to work on yourself. So I find meditation is one of my other favorite techniques, Tai Chi, going for a walk. Since I was a kid, going for a walk has been one of the major things that I've done to help control my emotions and my anger and my resentment. And sometimes I'll go walking down the street yelling because like I just had, an argument with my mother or her husband, whichever one it was this year, that were abusing me. And, you have to get out and you got to work through the process, and walking it off really helped. And sometimes it would be walking for hours. I literally walked from one side of the valley to the other, like regularly, just because I needed to blow off some energy and some steam. And it just, honestly, I felt a whole lot better being able to work through this stuff without having to fight through this stuff. When I was a kid, one of my stepfathers would chase me up. I would try to chase me. I was like 10. He wanted to beat me up, and I would go run up a tree and get onto the roof. And then he would get a ladder out and he'd climb up the ladder onto the roof. And I would always wait for him to get onto the roof with both of his feet. And then I would literally jump off the roof and then run away because I knew that I was going to be safe. He's going to be stuck up there trying to get down because he's a big, heavy guy. So a little harder for him to get down than it was for me. But he always thought that he had me cornered and he was going to get to hurt me. So, I mean, you have to realize that there are people in your life that is ultimately what they want, is to take out their anger on you, no matter what you do or say. And you just got to learn how to get away from it. You don't have to fight, and you don't have to be scared about it either. You just literally be like, this is the most sane thing for me to do, is not be here with you. Now, when I moved in with my father after epilepsy, I had to give up my house I was living in, gave up my job, everything. My girlfriend at the time helped me move my stuff. It was really nice of her. But so I moved in with him, and he didn't want to understand what was going on with me at that time either. I was having trouble communicating. So he wanted to talk to me and his TV's blaring in front of him and I'm struggling to say words, and he just keep what? And, I would finally, it took a while, I'd build up the energy. I would just kind of shout out my response, and then he was upset that I yelled at him. Nothing I could do about that. I just had two modes. It was either I'm talking quietly because I have no energy, or I can just shout because that's the best I could do. There was no medium for me. So you might find yourself in a very similar situation. where you find that it's just hard to communicate with people and that they don't want to make it easy for you. They won't turn the TV down. They expect you to bend to their will. They expect you to be able to do what normal people without epilepsy can't even struggle to do. I mean, for real, if they can't do it, how can they expect you to? If they can't control their own emotions, their own processes, like these are not the people you want to be hanging out listening to. These are not the ones that are going to be building up your self-confidence. So you need to make sure you are dealing with people that help. You know, talking, being part of a community is a huge, huge change. I found a great community over on Instagram when I got bullied off of Facebook. And I've been building a really nice community over here on Facebook as well. So I appreciate you putting your faith and trust and being a part of this group, being a part of this opportunity to be the best version of yourself. Because that's really all I want for you, is for you to be able to know that you are loved by somebody. And, you know, people can hate for no reason. I can love for no reason. You can love for no reason. We can do the same thing. Like, I love you just because you're alive. You know, even if you find that yourself doing horrible things to yourself or to other people, it doesn't mean that you aren't worth love. I mean, you need to be able to start changing how you treat yourself, and you will be able to start changing how you treat other people. If you find some compassion for yourself, some understanding, like, hey, look, we're not born this way. You know, I mean, we're not born in a way that we can have all the answers. Sometimes all we see is a lot of what not to do. That's kind of how I grew up. I have a lot of really bad examples of what not to do to people, because I never wanted people to feel the way that, you know, the people in my life made me feel. So I've tried my best, although I know there's been times where I've lashed out, and like these are just kind of some conditioning stuff that I've had from the time I was a child. And if I hadn't worked on it, or when things pop up, I'm like, oh wow, I still need to work on that. So I'm not perfect by any means. You know, no, none of us are. If anybody tells you they're perfect, they're lying. They're just lying sack of shit. That's all I can say. Nobody is perfect. It's an impossible standard. You can't beat yourself up because you're not perfect, because it's literally an impossible standard. It's just a way to beat yourself up. So you don't want to beat yourself up. You want to make sure you are doing stuff that makes you feel good. Eating, you know, sometimes we go excess. You might feel bad because you're a little heavy. You might have gained some weight. You might have lost some weight. Like personally, I don't like the fact that I'm this small. I would much rather be back up at my 230-pound bodybuilder size, but I haven't gotten back to there yet. And I don't beat myself up because I'm a little bit out of shape. I'm out of breath when I do stuff. Like, I'm just working on doing me and helping other people be the best version of themselves too. And it's at a level where you just have to recognize what it is you can do, what your threshold is. What's your mental threshold for the insanity? What's your physical threshold for the insanity? What's your emotional threshold? We all have one, and sometimes they're not where we want it to be. So it means we have to train up. We have to work at what it is that we want. We have to find out why we want to change. We got to anchor in the why. We start interrupting the patterns about what's going on in our life, causing these insanities, causing the ways that we think. Stop seeking pleasure from other people. Stop looking for drugs or alcohol or whatever as an excuse to like run away from what's going on in our lives. Because the more you bury yourself, you know, the further you're going to get from the life that you want to live. I'm not saying if you drink, moderation, whatever, that's on you. I can't do it. It will give me a seizure. I'm very aware of it. Alcohol, actually, it's really bad because it reduces your lymph drainage, and lymph is actually the only way your brain has to detox. So you really want to make sure that you're doing things to help relax. It, why, you know, again, I talk about acupuncture. Acupuncture is really good at helping with lymph drainage. We talk about lymph in the realms of the 8 extra channels. They're basically a lot of these things could deal with your lymph that's in your joints. So you got your armpits and your hips, your elbows, your knees, your tonsils are lymph. Like lymph runs through your body just like your nervous system. There are lines and stuff that come down all the way down. If you've ever looked at a medical chart, it's incredibly important to make sure that you're releasing your lymph. You're doing things that aren't going to clog your brain up from detoxing. Your brain detoxes at night. It does a lot of the cleaning and work and stuff. You get REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. Your eyes are twitching back and forth, which is still dealing with your occipital lobe. There's so much activity going on in your brain. It's washing itself. So there's actual brainwashing going on in your brain. So the blood and the lymphatic fluids, they're like going back and forth. Cerebral spinal fluids, it's just back and forth, just cleaning off the plaque and the different stuff that's building up in your brain so that you can continue to be a better, healthier version of yourself, which is why you need to be in a better, healthier state when you go to sleep, when you're preparing for bed, when you want to lay down. It's really important to make sure you're out of hypervigilance. So that way, when you wake up, you're feeling a lot better. I was really stressed out last night after dealing with having to move the bed and, missing my friend laying down, like wanting to go in there and check on him. It's like this morning, I still want to go in and give him juice. It's, so I mean, my brain's having a little trouble just because I didn't work on myself last night before I went to bed. I didn't, I just dealt with what I could. I was still kind of overly excited. I went to bed about an hour late. I got up about an hour late, and I feel it. But at least I got up and I did my Tai Chi. Actually played video games for a little bit because it's a pattern interrupt. It helped me like get my brain feeling a lot better over here. My eye being able to focus a little better. So there's things that we have to do, regardless. It's okay to feel loss. It's okay to be sad, to be angry, to be mad, to be manic, to be excited about stuff. Because, oftentimes you can be excited about stuff and people will tear you down for it. So you just got to make sure you're talking to the right people about what excites you. And that's what's important. Tribes, power tribes, communities. These are what we want in our lives. We need more of these types of people that will build you up for your struggles, for your accomplishments. Because honestly, living with epilepsy is a huge accomplishment. You are amazing. You are going through one of the worst problems that I've ever had to deal with. I mean, I've seriously, a lot of the stuff that I treated, some of the worst stuff is really the problems that go on in the brain. I truly think dementia is incredibly scary. Uh, losing losing control of who you think and who you are, and that's a lot of how epilepsy is. It's like you have to rediscover purpose. You have to rediscover your why. You have to rediscover what makes you happy and work on yourself. Um, there's things you can do. I highly recommend playing music, singing music, learning a language. Doing these things will really help with your memory. And the more you're able to help with that, the more you kind of start feeling better about yourself, accomplishing goals, but making them small. Don't make these huge, giant goals that are going to be overwhelming. You have to keep them small. You want to do one step at a time every day in order to go, 100 miles. Run a marathon. You do it one step at a time. To eat an elephant. We don't eat elephants, but it's a saying. How do you eat an elephant? You eat them one bite at a time. You can't put the whole thing in your mouth. It's huge. It's too big of a project. It's too big of a problem, too big of a meal. So we don't jump 60 miles or 60 kilometers or whatever in one step. We do it one step at a time. It takes time. It takes process. It takes us wanting more to do more. And then it takes looking for ways that we can do more to actually accomplish this. So making plans, writing these things down makes it real, scheduling into your calendar what it is you want to do by when, and then realizing that there's going to be a little give and take in this process. Sometimes things come up that we don't expect. I've been working on this car for a while now, and honestly, I've been trying to look stuff up on how to fix it. We're still having issues. I'm changing out everything we can right now, and just really frustrated. And every time reaches a point where I just can't look things up anymore, and I'm a little frustrated that we can't get to the next step. And I'm fortunate that my brother has been able to help me out with this and kind of direct what we're doing. He's having a lot of fun. It gets him away from some of the stress that he's dealing with. So at the same time, it's a little stressful trying to finish a project that should be done by now, that we've done so much work already, but we just haven't reached that goal yet. So, but we will, because we're going to keep persevering. There's only so much that can be wrong with it, but it takes time sometimes to troubleshoot. We don't have a book. We do a lot of research online. We do check forums. We check all this different stuff. So it's like, what do? You just start looking for answers, and it's be a whole lot easier if I would call one of my mechanic buddies and say, hey, look, this is what I'm stuck at. What do you think I should do? But I don't like taking advantage of my friends, and I have to pay for them, and they're busy doing other stuff. So for me, that's kind of how I feel about it. I have the ability to do some research. I have the ability of having my brother help me out. So we're doing what we can. And I might end up paying somebody to help answer some of the problems that might be going on after we get to a point where we don't have any more ability to look up possibilities or solutions. Because that's what you do. When you don't have the answer, you find people that do. And might have to just take it to the mechanic, tow it over there, say, hey, I know we're almost done. It can't be that much harder. What did we miss? And oftentimes they're a lot more experienced, especially when your experience isn't what you're going through. If your experience isn't living with epilepsy, if you don't know how to eat right, if you don't know how to move right, think right, feel right, you don't know how to do these things in a manner where you're happy with yourself or about the future, at least. I mean, you can be in a place where you're not happy about where you're at, but still be happy about where you're going. Be happy about this outcome, this life that you can live, where you can stop letting epilepsy take your joy, stop tapping you on the shoulder and say, bam, nighty night, buddy. Stop letting it take your goals away from you, your dreams away from you, your relationships, your love for yourself. Again, I talk about meditation is an amazing technique. When you're in hell, when you're dealing with this, root chakra is one of the best things to do. So in order to find your root chakra, the shortcut that I teach, I tell everybody, it is actually to do Kegel exercises. So Kegel's exercises are actually contracting your anal muscles. Basically, for men, it's like about the prostate area, but it's your perineum, so the area between your genitals and your anus. In the middle of that spot, it's an acupuncture point, and shortly up, just a little bit, a couple fingers into that area, you'll find an area that as you tighten the muscles, like you're going to stop yourself from peeing. That's kind of the ones you want to activate. There's like two levels. You got the ones that are going to help you stop from peeing, and you got the ones going to help you stop from pooping. So you really want to be activating the ones that are going to help contract. So you, like, if you need to pee, but for some reason you're in the car and you can't get out and get to the bathroom yet, or whatever, this is a great way to help strengthen these muscles. It also helps improve your sexual life. So honestly, it's great for improving your sex life. So when it comes in, life is life. You need shortcuts to like what's going on in life. Like Kegel exercises with some belly breathing will get you really far. You want to make sure when I do them, I would take a deep breath, and then I contract the muscles, and then I relax the muscles, and I let the breath out, contract the muscles, and relax the muscles, and then take a breath in, contract the muscles, relax the muscles, take a breath out. You don't have to do it on both sides. If you haven't trained up for that, you might wear them out and get a little exhausted. You can do it either at the top of the breath or the bottom of the breath. Is a really great way to start out. And you just do it. I would say start off with 3 sets of 10. And if you haven't done this before, it's really good. Just do it like a couple times a day, and just realize that this is a process that's going to help. If you're dealing with too much energy up in your head, you think you're going to have a seizure, if you're feeling overly emotional and you don't want to go crazy, you don't want to have a seizure, you don't want to have a panic attack, you feel like you have anxiety, this is actually the Kundalini technique that you work on the root chakra. And we talk about this in Chan, which is what I practice, is Heart Chan, that this is the hell realm. So when you're feeling the loss of love, when you're feeling unanchored, when you need to work on your root and your foundation of who you are, this is the part that you work on. So the next chakra that would go up, if you're dealing with addictions, if you're addicted to certain things, behaviors, patterns, addictions, drugs, alcohol, food, sex, whatever, we can be addicted to all kinds of stuff, sugar, cheese. Again, we talk about foods. These are things that are really important. But if you're addicted to certain patterns, if you're addicted to certain behaviors, Your sacral chakra is a good spot to work on. Excuse me. We have a couple other chakras that we use in Chan that aren't commonly used inside the 7 chakra realm that help address some of the next few levels. But we'll get into that more and some other classes. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk more about meditation. We'll sit down and meditate together. That'd be awesome. So hang in there. You are loved. You're doing wonderful. I think you're doing great. So hopefully you have a better understanding on what you can do to start feeling better, because there's an old Chinese saying that pain is guaranteed, but suffering is optional. And it really is. You can choose to live in suffering. You can choose to let this pain get the best of you. Or you can choose to say, yeah, this sucks, but I can do more and I will get better. Because you will and you can. All you have to do is decide what it is that you want and why. And then you start looking for who can help you find how to do it. So this is just how life works. And many times throughout life, I have found many people that have helped me become the best version of myself when I don't have the answers for myself. When other people don't have the answers for me that are in my life, you go find more people that have the answers that you want, which is why we're offering mentorship, where you can join the next step going through the next 6 to 10 weeks, where we're going to run a program where you too can get more answers, where you can be involved. We're going to do some more training every week, and then we're going to get together at the end of the week and we're going to go over what's going on with you, make sure that you have the answers so you can get to the next steps, so that you're not stumbling alone, so that we can work on this as a team, as a tribe. So we can do a drug-free epilepsy foundation for you and everyone else that deserves answers beyond do what the doctor says. So this is why we say do more than what the doctor says. Take care of yourself like you matter. And if you don't know what to do, if you're not sure where to start, ask me. I want to help you, because I don't succeed if you don't succeed. This is just the way I am. I've been helping people for most of my life. It makes me feel good to be able to help other people find success. And there are things that you're going to be able to do that I can't. I'm photosensitive, so there's only 1 in 32 of us epilepsy warriors that are photosensitive. So the flashing lights isn't the only trigger. Lights in general, you can see stripes on the ground from trees or whatever. I can, the light coming in from the door, putting color on the carpet that's dark in the room I'm sitting in can give me a seizure. I mean, seriously. So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Dark mode really helps me on my computer. I have dark mode. There's different tools, different things that you can do that will make your life a lot easier, make your life better, and make the love that you have grow stronger and stronger, because it's a seed. You need to nourish yourself. When a plant isn't growing and it's having problems, you don't blame the plant. It's not the plant's fault for struggling. You change the environment. You give it more water if it needs water. If it's too much water, you give it less. If it needs more sunlight, you give it more sunlight. Give them nutrients. There are nutrients that help plants grow really big and tall. I personally use Korea natural farming with my medicine. So when I'm growing, I feed my plants my plants. So if you don't know anything about that, it's actually really cool to be able to feed your garden to your garden to make it grow. So growing vegetables that we can eat, growing medicine, growing herbs, different things throughout the yard. Not everybody has a yard that they can use. If you live in an apartment, I understand there are some stuff that you can actually grow some of your own food and herbs inside your house. But that's not what we're really going to cover today. It's just an opportunity, an option that is out there, so you can be aware of what you can do. But again, you don't change or blame the plant. That's you. You don't blame yourself for what's going on. You start changing what's going on around you and nourishing yourself in a way, and you will be able to grow and bloom and become the best version of you. So hopefully you will continue this process. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. You can join us for this training. It's going to be really good, helping you find answers that you need. I have to offer this to you because the only way that you can get better is to invest in yourself, to invest in your future, and in a way that makes you feel good and supported And this is an opportunity, because what you invest in is what you get. If you're investing in yourself, you're going to get a better version of yourself. You're going to get the answers that you need. You're going to be so much happier and having so much more fun with your life, like I am. Be able to do so much more now that I have stopped letting epilepsy tell me what to do. I get along. We like work on our process. We have some issues sometimes, but stress management, health, mental, physical, as long as you're trying to balance out everything that's going on with you, you'll have some ups and downs. It's just life. Life has ups and downs, but it's how you respond, how you learn to react, how you learn to go through the obstacle, because the obstacle is the path. It's always the path. The way to grow, the way to become the next best version of you, the way to live without epilepsy taking all of your joy and happiness from you, is to work through what's taking it away from you. And whether it's yourself, whether it's the people in your life, whether it's just that you don't know what to do, you don't know what your triggers are, you don't know how to manage it. This is also why we talk about using the Epsi app. So you can take records of what you are going through, what you're doing, and what's going to bring you to the next best version of yourself. So please contact me at almawayne@myersgood.com, and you can join us here for the Epilepsy Hell to Epilepsy Well process, the program, a 6-week to 10-week program that we'll be doing starting October 25th. So you have yourself a wonderful Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Today's Saturday, so this is the 6th day of the course. We're doing a Monday through Sunday, so make sure you're having a wonderful Saturday. We're going to see you tomorrow for Sunday, and we're going to finish this up, and we'll have a great week. So we'll be doing the 7 days finally coming to an end, but it won't be coming to an end. There's still an opportunity to move forward, to continue this on a level where you can actually participate in a Zoom room with us and ask more questions and get more interactive with taking care and improving the quality of your life. So if you just want to hang out and do the free stuff, you're probably not going to invest as much time and effort into it, but it's still going to be available. I'm going to do my best to provide some content in here so that you can continue to grow. But make sure that you do your best to be your best and find the right people that want to see you succeed. So I hope you have yourself a wonderful Saturday as best as you can, and we'll see you tomorrow.